Our first story deals with an ordinary man who overcame impossible odds to beat a crippling disease not by his own superhuman strength, but by a higher power beyond himself. Robert Skillman of Red Bluff, California led a normal life until one day his regular exercise routine produced some abnormal results. As he started to cool down, Robert noticed a tingling in his hands. Initially, he thought nothing of it, but then the sensation spread to the rest of his body.
At first, when everything felt like it was going to sleep, I kept thinking it's going to wake up, rubbing, it's going to wake up, and it didn't wake up. It went to sleep and died.
Robert underwent a series of tests. His x-rays revealed a grave abnormality, which was evaluated by his physician, Dr. Don Nelson.
I think anybody that looked at him would say, this man's in big, big trouble.
Robert had developed a condition which caused an overgrowth of bone and tissue in his vertebrae.
This white material, between the two lines of white material is the spinal cord. And then you get up to this point, and the spinal cord appears to almost disappear. This is really very severe cervical stenosis.
In layman's terms, Robert's spinal cord was being crushed by abnormal growth, and by the time he was diagnosed, Robert had lost all feeling from the neck down. Recommended treatment included surgery to relieve pressure on the spinal cord, followed by intense physical therapy. Surgery was performed, but the limits of Robert's medical coverage prohibited the therapy. Sadly, without it, Robert would never fully regain the use of his body. Until this point, Robert had handled his misfortune well, but this unexpected turn was more than he could bear.
I raged against God for letting this happen. What have I done to deserve this? I raged against the state for not providing me physical therapy, at least giving me a hope of getting better.
Robert's anger became grief. Then his grief became self-pity. He was on a downward spiral. He knew this pattern had to stop, so he decided to do the one thing he could still do without assistance. He prayed.
My prayers were, at first they were gripe sessions. I griped and complained. And finally, there was a point of complete surrender. I said, God, if this is your will, to let me lie here a vegetable for the rest of my life, if that is your will for me, then give me the strength to accept that. And if you cannot give me the strength to accept that, then I will not be satisfied unless you heal me.
Robert prayed for a miracle, as did his congregation and his pastor.
I knew that God could heal, and that physicians had treated, and he had very competent surgeons, but we would leave the healing part to God.
But even with all the prayers, Robert's condition continued to deteriorate.
For a period of time, it seemed to actually get worse after surgery rather than better. And then there was a rather sudden improvement about 6 months after surgery.
Robert's sudden improvement was, for him, nothing less than the miracle for which he and his church had prayed. For no earthly reason, and with no medical explanation, Robert showed signs of movement in his arms and legs. With great difficulty, he was soon able to stand, and over time, with some assistance, the former quadriplegic actually walked. Though not yet 100%, Robert made phenomenal progress, and together with his congregation, he thanked God for his miraculous recovery. But the best was yet to come. The following week, he returned to church, this time without his walker. Robert had been completely healed. His friends were astonished and claimed he was literally a walking miracle. Looking back on the experience, Robert claims to now understand why he was prohibited from receiving physical therapy.
God allowed me not to have it so that he could get the glory. I was denied physical therapy so that when I was completely restored, not just partially restored, completely restored, human beings, especially medical science, could not say that they had anything to do with the restorative process other than the initial stabilization.
Robert's amazing experience has taught him three things.
First of all, it's taught me that God is absolutely sovereign. He can do anything he wants whenever he wants to. Secondly, a person doesn't have to be good or holy or righteous to receive a miracle. Now, I know this empirically because I'm none of those things, and I got a miracle. The third thing I've learned is that when God does a miracle, when he directly intervenes in a person's life, it's for a reason.
The magnitude of Robert's apparent miracle is nothing less than extraordinary. For him, greater still is the ordinary way he obtained it, through prayer. For Robert, the power of prayer turned tragedy into triumph, and billions of believers all around the world believe their prayers are answered and that miracles are granted every day.